Good morning, it's Karen, and welcome back to my second moon review. If this is the first moon review that you are watching, I'm going to give you a little bit of context. I was looking at this year's TBR, all the books that I wanted to read, and I noticed there was a pattern that on several of the books there was a moon, or there was a moon in context to the book. So I thought, well, what if I just lump these together in moon reviews? The first two that I reviewed were How High We Go in the Dark and Daughter of the Moon Goddess. And both of those were 5 stars. So I got to thinking that any book with a moon or moon subject would be a 5 stars for me. Well, you're going to find out today that is not exactly the case. So let's just jump in. The two books that I'll be reviewing today are Sea of Tranquility by Emily St. John Mandel and An Arrow to the Moon by Emily X.R. Pan. An Arrow to the Moon wasn't really on my radar, but it did have a moon. So I added it to my list. I put it on my wait list at the library and it came in, so I read it. And this one is a young adult novel, they've been saying it's a Romeo and Juliet of sorts. And I would, a little bit, but really truly, this is a fated lovers based on the Chinese mythology of Chang'e. There is Luna, who is, I guess, our reincarnate, and Hunter, who is the love interest. And we have, it's not dual POV, it's POV with Hunter and his brother and his parents and Luna and her parents and even the baddie. And that was really a really interesting approach. And I kind of liked that because it gave us insight into each of the characters and their motivations. I appreciated having the parents' point of view to kind of give us context as to why there was this sort of family feud. Ultimately, this one gave me sort of a lackluster feel to it, and I felt like the pacing just was a bit off. There was a lot of slow building, that falling in love between the two characters. Like, we know that they're going to be in love because they're fated to be together. And there was that slow build of them getting to know each other. And then, probably in the last 20 pages, was all the action. And I did not appreciate that because I felt like all of a sudden everything happened and then it was done. And I would have rather had that slow build, that action, and more of a denouement because there was none. And I just felt sort of left hanging. There wasn't that satisfaction that I wanted. This is the same story that is used in The Daughter of the Moon Goddess. However, I feel like the inspiration for The Daughter of the Moon Goddess kind of worked a little bit better for that. I understand what Emily X.R. Pan was going for. It just didn't work for me. If I was to rate this on my scale of full moon to new moon to full moon, circular scale, if you will, I would rate this one waxing gibbous, meaning it was approaching that what I wanted, but ultimately failed to get there. And for that, I only gave it 3 out of 5 stars. On the other hand, Sea of Tranquility by Emily St. John Mandel is quickly becoming one of my most favorite books. I have read it now twice. I read it once with my eyeballs and then once with my ears. And I absolutely adored both experiences. Both hit just as hard. And I would recommend this to anybody who absolutely loves that sort of interweaving storytelling where all the characters are connected, even though we span 200 years. We've got someone from 1918, and we've got someone from 1993, and then we've got someone from like 22 something or other. And there's some time travel, which I love, and it's not too explainy, and I'm okay with that because I find what ends up happening with explainy time travel is it just gets too complicated, and then people start poking holes in it. Whereas we just go along with this one. We suspend our disbelief and we just go, I would say the main character of this is Gaspari Jacques, and he's got this very unusual name, and he starts to experience these coincidences, and he's trying to come to the bottom of everything. He's trying to figure everything out. And it's basically just kind of his story of figuring out what's happening. And I absolutely loved this. This was a very cinematic novel. It is rather short. However, she packs so much into this book that I absolutely adore it. I'm going to give it a full moon because I feel like full moon seems to be the thing that we are always wanting. I almost want to give it like a super moon because I absolutely adore this. I know I keep saying I adore this, but really, truly, it just was absolutely wonderful. It captured my heart, and I am going to be seeking my own personal copy very soon. I cried multiple times with this book because of the tenderness and the grace and the empathy between each of the characters. All of these beautiful musings, but understandings of each other just really brought everything together for me. There was this really beautiful section that was talking about the simulation, that wonderful question that people are musing right now about whether or not we live in a simulation and whether or not it's worth living. And the idea that, well, a life lived is still a life lived. It doesn't matter where you live it. It doesn't matter if you live it in the city. It doesn't matter if you live it on the moon. It doesn't matter if you live it on a farm. It's still a life lived. It doesn't matter if it was a simulation. You are still a person. You still had thoughts and feelings and emotions and care for each other. There were so many moments that just hit really hard for me. One of them was Olive Llewellyn, who, while on tour, makes a really tough decision between her work and her child and her family, and she chooses her family, and that's exactly what I was going through at that moment in time. So, oh my goodness, the relatability. And then the second thing that really got me, there's a farm, and the idea of you're working really hard on this farm and you see these beautiful sweeping views and you just appreciate every moment of it. This idea of growing old with the one that you love on a farm is just, it's idyllic, but it's where I'm at right now. And for that, this is a 5 out of 5. My top of 2022 and my top ever. I'm on the lookout for some more moon books. My eyes are always looking and my ears are always listening. So I hope to come to you soon by the end of the year with another installment of my moon reviews. Have a most wonderful day and we'll see you soon. Bye.